Exposed, terrifying secrets of the cursed woods, unexplained tales of sinister spirits revealed. Mia Johnson woke up that night to the sound of scratching against her window, the kind that sends icy fingers crawling up your spine. The cold air seeped through the thin walls of their little house in Millwood, where the whispers of the cursed woods loomed just beyond her grasp. Henry, her father, was gone for another night shift, leaving Mia alone, staring at the shadows that danced in her dimly lit room. The stories about those woods, the ones that made her father tense up when he walked her past them, flooded her mind now. Tales of angered spirits and dark rituals echoed in her ears, humming with an eerie cadence that felt all too real. They said the woods were cursed, a place where children had vanished without a trace. Just last week, she overheard some kids at school talking about a girl named Annie, who had gone missing, her laughter swallowed by the darkness. Mia shivered, the stories twisting and turning in her thoughts. All around her, the suburban silence grew heavier, pressing down, suffocating. She had shut her curtains tight, yet beyond them, something rustled in the trees. Not just leaves, but something darker, figures, she thought, weaving through the shadows like haunted memories. Was it paranoia? Or something more sinister? As the days crept on, Mia found herself wanting to escape the whispers, craving a connection. That's when Mr. Whitaker, their neighbor, stepped in, his charm almost too sweet to trust. His gaze was intense, as if he could see right through her. It sent chills spiraling down her spine. He spoke of the woods with an odd enthusiasm, weaving tales of mystical powers and hidden spirits that called to those brave enough to accept their invitation. "You just have to know where to look, Mia," he said, his grin widening just a little too much. A part of her sensed something was off. His interest in her father made Mia suspicious. What did he want from them? Before she knew it, her nights became restless, haunted by the laughter of children in the distance, weaving sorrow and dread into her dreams. She couldn't shake it off. The townsfolk whispered about a ritual, something that gripped the very heart of Millwood in fear, talks of a cult that drew strength from the shadows. Each story sent a jolt of terror through her, the visions of lost children gasping in darkness ate away at her sanity. The woods were alive on those nights, breathing secrets thick with malice. And just like that, her world tilted off its axis when she overheard Mr. Whitaker one evening, laughing ominously with two cloaked figures. "It's only a matter of time," he had said, echoing with cruelty, as if his words carried weight far beyond their meaning. She pressed her ear to the wall, fear pooling in her stomach. Her father's life might intertwine with their malevolence. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the witching hour approached, shadows thickened in her room, and she felt the pull of the darkness outside. The air crackled, suffocating her as her breath quickened, heart pounding like a drum. The door rattled suddenly, a harsh bang that sent her soul careening into panic. Who or what was on the other side? The whispers of the woods had risen to a fever pitch now, beckoning her toward unknown horrors. Instinct screamed for her to stay back, but curiosity clawed at her resolve. She forged ahead, ready to unveil whatever malevolence lurked beyond the door, the secrets of Millwood ready to swallow her whole. The door creaked open, revealing a night that felt impossibly deep, shadows pooling like an ink stain. The air outside was thick and dank, tinged with the scent of wet earth and something coppery. A chill ran down Mia's spine as she stepped over the threshold, the floorboards creaking beneath her feet, echoing her nervous heartbeat. The scratching had stopped, but the whispers from the woods intensified, now swirling in her ears with urgency. "Mia," a voice drifted, soft yet dripping with an unnatural echo. It sent a shiver coursing through her. She turned her head sharply, scanning the yard. The trees stood like twisted soldiers, their gnarled branches scraping the moonlit sky. Fear clawed at her throat, but the draw of the woods propelled her forward. With every step toward the line of trees, her mind raced. What if she found Annie? Would she dare to go deeper? Mia hesitated. Images of cloaked figures and Mr. Whitaker's sinister laugh flickered behind her eyes. What were they up to? Questions rattled in her head, but the voice called again. Mia, her heart raced harder, now a frantic drum in her chest. It felt familiar, comforting yet foreign. She felt like she was being lured into a trap, but something stoked the fire of her curiosity. I have to know, she whispered to herself as she crossed onto the path that led into the woods. The moment she stepped beneath the canopy, the world felt different. The moonlight faltered, swallowed by the dense shadows. A thick mist rolled around her ankles, clinging and cold. Each breath sent a shiver through her, making the hairs on her neck stand up. Whatever magic the woods held, it whispered danger. Then she saw it, a flicker of movement ahead. Not everything that moved in the darkness was friendly, she reminded herself. Still, the pull drew her closer, as if she were being beckoned deeper into the heart of the misty chaos. Soft laughter echoed, little girl giggles, the kind that felt innocent but sent a jolt of dread through her bones. Mia. We've been waiting for you. The voices came from further within, sweet and disarming. An irresistible urge clawed at her to run, yet her feet felt rooted in place, indecision paralyzing her. She stepped forward, leaning into the darkness. Who's there? She found her voice, albeit unsteady. The laughter ceased abruptly, only to be replaced by heavy silence woven with unseen eyes. In that stillness, a different sound broke through, a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through the ground beneath her. Panic surged as she turned on her heel. Shadows shifted around her, darting closer, darting back. Just as she prepared to flee, a soft hand brushed against her shoulder. She spun around, heart hammering in her chest. A girl stood before her, dressed in a tattered white dress that seemed soaked in moonlight. "Don't be afraid," she said, a smile revealing too many teeth. Mia couldn't move, the girl's wide eyes flickered with something dark, a mischief with an undercurrent of malice. "They want you to join us," she whispered, voice dripping with honeyed invitation. As the laughter returned in a haunting chorus, Mia felt the shadows shift, shifting their focus onto her, like a pit of hungry wolves. And just then, a thought struck her: what if they had been waiting for her father too? That flicker of fear ignited something primal, a fierce need to escape. She spun toward whispered warnings of retreat, but the path felt twisted, the trees warping, their gnarled branches knotted like skeletal fingers reaching for her. Time was running out, and an unseen force tugged at her sleeve. She gasped as she stumbled onward, the woods yawning before her, an abyss eager to consume her whole. She had to find a way back home before the woods claimed her brother, before it was too late. But the deeper truth lurked just beyond her grasp, a truth that might shatter her world. Whatever it was close now. Did she dare uncover it? Mia stumbled back, the girl's chilling smile carving itself deep into her mind. "Join us," the words echoed, twisting in her ears as the shadows seemed to close in tighter, hungry whispers now mingling with the growls. Panic brewed in her chest like a storm, raw and simmering. She sprinted, adrenaline surging as the leaves crunched beneath her feet, the mist swirling like claws trying to ensnare her. The path twisted with her terror, the trees warping into grotesque shapes, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers grasping for breath. Mia's heart raced. Was it fear or exhilaration? It didn't matter. The laughter shrieked around her like a banshee's wail, stirring the dead air into a frenzy. "You can't escape," a chorus chanted, sweet little voices now tainted with malice. She ran, pushing deeper into the forest, the thrum of her pulse drowning out everything else. But the woods had a rhythm of their own, a pulse that matched her own, and it quickened with her every step. She could feel eyes, hundreds of them, following her through the murky darkness. Desperate, she glanced back. The girl in the white dress had vanished, but the laughter persisted, swirling around her like smoke. Behind her, the shapes moved in the gloom, indistinct like shadows of lost souls tangled in despair. "Mia!" they called, their voices a haunting melody threaded with mania. Her feet pounded against the earth, but it swallowed each footfall until she felt like few existed, lost in an infinite loop. She pushed on, heart racing and breath shallow. Suddenly, a clearing burst from the fog, the moon pouring silver over everything. Mia halted, the chaos quieting, the shadows receding only reluctantly, as if it might draw her back at any moment. She stood alone, the stillness heavy with dread. The feel of something wrong engulfed her. In the center of the clearing lay a small, beautifully carved well, an elaborate structure of ancient stones, overgrown with ivy, pulsating with a strange energy. The stone seemed to breathe, shimmering with every flicker of the moonlight. Drawn to it, she stepped forward. "Annie?" she croaked, the name barely escaping her lips. The well seemed to respond, the air thickening with anticipation. She leaned closer, peering into the darkness below. She could almost hear her sister's soft voice echoing up, tender yet tinged with sorrow. "Mia," the voice wafted up, familiar yet sinister. "Help me." Fear ripped through her. She couldn't look away, even as the dark water shimmered mysteriously, like the sky before a storm. "No!" she shouted into the void. "I'll find you." But the water rippled in response, and the mist danced around her, a mocking embrace. Something lurked in its depths, a presence that twisted her stomach into knots. In that moment, the air grew icy, and the laughter returned, louder, insistent. Shadows came alive again, flitting around the clearing, wrapping themselves around her like a shroud. "Mia!" The voice wasn't just from the well. It echoed in chorus. The woods spoke, and she felt frozen. With a sudden surge of instinct, she needed to run, needed to flee, but the well's pull was relentless. Images of Annie surged in her mind, and the dread became unbearable. Was it a trap? Did the woods desire something from her more than just a visit? As she turned to escape, branches snagged her clothes, pulling her back into the arms of the ancient woods. Fear became a living entity that clung to her. "What do you want?" she screamed into the night. And then it all went quiet. Dark shadows hung above, the mist froze mid-motion. The whispering stopped, leaving only the steady thump of her heart breaking the silence. In that eerie stillness, Mia understood, whatever haunted this place wasn't just waiting for her, it wanted her to uncover its darkness, and she had just taken the first step. As she stood there, frozen, the earth seemed to rise beneath her, like a heartbeat thrumming closer. But who was truly in control, the woods or her? It was a question she might have to answer soon, one way or another. Mia's heart thundered like a drum in the silence, the pressure of stillness pressing against her chest. She was caught in an invisible pull, tethered to the well, its depths whispering promises in her ear. The moonlight flickered, casting jagged shadows that crawled toward her, alive with intent. Panic gripped her, she wrestled against the vines of fear coiling tighter around her. "Get away!" she shouted, but it felt like shouting at the abyss. The reply echoed from the depths, laughter intermingling with despair. It wasn't just her terror anymore, the night itself seemed to shiver with anticipation. And then, movement. A flicker of white flitted between the trees at the edge of the clearing. Mia squinted, breath caught. "Annie?" she called, desperate. The figure paused, and for a heartbeat, she thought it might be her sister. But the woods swallowed her words, laughter tumbling back into the air like the remains of a shattered dream. It wasn't just a voice but a cacophony of cries, echoing her name. They all shared the same chilling resonance, pulling her deeper into the throes of madness. The winds changed, a cold gust blew through, carrying an unfamiliar scent, something rotten and sour. Mia wrinkled her nose but couldn't resist the urge to step forward. Each step felt like walking on glass, each blade of grass sharp underfoot. "Mia!" The voice echoed again, surrounding her like thick fog. It was alluring, pleading. She squeezed her eyes shut, shaking her head. No, stop it. The last fight within her whispered to break free. As she opened her eyes, she was met with the sight of shadows dancing under the moon's glow, mocking her hopelessness. The way the shadows shifted reminded her of children at play, only these were not innocent. They reveled in her fear, and for just a moment, she thought she saw faces twisted, grinning faces jutting out from the dark. Squinting, she turned away, trying to recall the warmth of sunlight or the sound of people. Anything but this place. She clutched the collar of her jacket, seeking comfort among frayed threads, when suddenly, a glint caught her eye. The well stone sparkled, revealing an array of colors like a prism, a beckoning lure that sent shivers down her spine. Ancient runes swirled into her vision, alive with secrets begging to be uncovered. What were they? Who had carved them? With knowledge came dread, as memories of her sister's games and their childhood washed over her. We have to find the truth, Annie had often said, her young voice filled with the innocence of adventure. But what lay hidden here was no game, it felt like a curse. Mia turned again to escape, her instincts flaring up. But the well's energy surged, and she stumbled backward, crashing against the earth. It tugged at her feet, urging her even closer to the edge. Help me! The beckoning call was no longer Annie's, now it belonged to the well itself. I'm not going to help you. Mia's words were defiant, and in that moment, she thought of running again. She pulled herself onto her feet, shaking off the grime and fear. But as she turned, the laughter cracked like thunder, and a wave of dark figures erupted from the trees, flooding the clearing, blocking her path. Mia! They sang, and she felt chains around her legs, shackles of dread that wrapped her tighter with each heartbeat. The stench of decay filled her lungs as she looked up. You're not real. But were they? Were any of them? Her own thoughts spiraled as she scanned for a way out, and when she heard it, the relentless drip from the well, each droplet taunting her, luring her to peer into its depths. Could she risk looking again? Was anything worth the truth it promised? Just then, a figure lunged from the shadows, small and white, and her heart lurched at the sight. Mia's pulse quickened. Annie? But it was too late. The shadows were closing in, their laughter a monstrous cacophony that filled the air. Was it her sister? Or just another trick of the cursed woods? With her instincts screaming to escape, Mia took one last glance back at the well, the darkness below swirling with secrets, then she turned to flee. But something dark darted into her peripheral vision and she gasped. A faint voice whispered just above the ever-encroaching noise of the forest. You were chosen. What did that mean? The chill of realization washed over her. As she sprinted toward the trees, a sense of dread tightened around her throat. This was merely the beginning of her nightmare. Would she find Annie? Or would the woods consume her first? Adrenaline surged through Mia as she sprinted into the dense underbrush, branches clawing at her arms, tugging her back. Those shadows did not just loom, they chased, malevolent specters that encapsulated her in a suffocating darkness. Each breath tasted like dirt, each heartbeat echoed with the evil laughter lost in the chaos. They're not real, she murmured, though doubt gnawed at her resolve. But their voices, twisted and mocking, beckoned her back, promising safety in surrender. Mia! They screeched, and the cacophony pierced through the night like a scream in a vacuum, isolating her. She plunged deeper into the thicket, panic-stricken. Memories of the tales Annie had woven, stories of brave heroes and ancient evils swirled in her mind. But the heroes did not come here. They did not escape unscathed. They fought only to succumb to despair. Mia! A voice called again and she skidded to a stop. Was it Annie? Was she close? She tore through the brush, heart racing, limbs trembling, searching for a glimpse of white, a trace of familiarity. Yet, each shadow that flitted past her felt like a taunt, a reminder that she was utterly alone. The air shifted, thick and humid, wrapping around her like a serpent. The woods whispered again, breathing words of despair. This is where it ends, a heavy pause, thick with malevolence. You cannot escape. No. No. She screamed, indignation forcing her voice against the dark. The sharp bite of fear clawed at her throat, but she pressed on. She could not succumb. The image of Annie's laughter danced in her mind, the hope flickering like a distant flame. She stumbled, propelled by desperation, searching for a way out, her feet pounding against the vicious earth. And then she saw a gap in the trees where the moonlight spilled onto the ground like a silver ribbon. It felt like salvation. She lunged forward, praying that the vision was real, that the void behind her would dissolve into nothingness. But then it happened. Branches snapped as the figures behind her surged with an urgency that sent cold fear crawling down her spine. Mia! She heard a crystalline voice break through the fog of horrors, and in that moment, she hesitated. It was not the cacophony of distorted laughter but a soft, pained call. Help, Annie! She gasped, spinning, breath hitching with hope. White shapes emerged from the swirl of darkness. Mia's eyes widened in dread as they formed into familiar forms, twisted and transformed by the shadows into grotesque replicas of her sister and other children from their past. Hollow promises reflected in their eyes, a cruel mockery of her deepest yearning. Do you remember us? They chorused, the innocence replaced by something sinister. We've been waiting for you, know. Mia stumbled back, an overwhelming wave of horror crashing over her. This was the pull of the well, whispered secrets roiling up from its depths, a darkness that consumed truths and turned them into nightmares. Join us, their voices dripped with honeyed malice, luring her back toward the well from which they came. The laughter of lost souls echoed around her, wrapping tighter than the brush, suffocating her willpower. Mia could feel it, the well's energy pulsed beneath her feet, calling her closer. The ancient runes glowed softly in her mind's eye, yearning for acknowledgement. Knowledge or despair? In the midst of this chaos, the choice hung taut, whispering possibilities she was terrified to confront. Get away from me! She cried out in defiance, but the figures advanced, ebbing toward her like a tide that could not be held back. A sudden crack pierced the night. A branch splintered, the sound breaking whatever hold the figures had on her. In that split second of clarity, Mia bolted toward the fading light ahead, her heart pounding with the rhythm of primal fear. But the ground beneath her lurched, roots and branches bucking like live creatures, trying to entrap her. She stumbled as the laughter erupted into a frenzy behind her. The darkness swirled, and she knew whatever this place wanted, it was not ready to let her go. And then, piercing the frantic scattering of her thoughts, came the whisper, softer than a breath, more haunting than the shadowed figures. You can never leave us. What did that mean? Fear seethed in her veins, threatening to choke her as she hurtled toward the abyss. With a leap of desperation, Mia plunged forward into the dark, hoping against hope that it would lead her to freedom. Or perhaps, it would pull her into the waiting jaws of a nightmare yet to unfold. As she fell into the unknown, the last pulse of the well mocked her with chilling laughter, echoing in the night. Would she find a way to escape this cursed forest, or would it claim another victim to its eerie legacy? Mia tumbled through a disorienting swirl of darkness, the air cloying and thick around her. She braced for impact, anticipating the crash of branches or some unseen horror waiting to meet her. Instead, she fell into a void where sound and light lost their meaning. Silence wrapped around her, disrupted only by the ragged tempo of her breath. Moments stretched into eternity before she finally hit the ground, a hard thud that shot pain through her limbs. Dazed, she blinked against a sudden glow that flickered to life around her. Shadows danced along the edges, elongating the shapes into grotesque silhouettes. Panic gripped her heart as she struggled to rise, only to find the ground beneath her was damp and cold. Annie? She called, her voice cracking, swallowed by the encroaching darkness. No answer came but the rustling of unseen things moving just out of sight. Fear gripped her more tightly than ever. It echoed in her throat and drummed in her chest, louder than the cacophony behind her. She dared not look back, terrified of what awaited her in the shadows she had escaped. Instead, she searched for a way out, her heart thrumming a frantic tattoo as she pushed herself up, brushing muck from her palms. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, details emerged. She was in a clearing, encircled by trees that loomed like sentinels. Vines thick and twisted snaked up their trunks, writhing in the air as though alive. An uneasy pulse throbbed in the ground beneath her, each heartbeat resonating with a dark promise. Mia stumbled forward, driven by instinct. Every rustle of leaves sent a fresh wave of terror through her veins. She thought she could hear whispers again, indecipherable yet taunting. Panic urged her to run, but where? Then she saw it, a faded wooden sign half buried in the underbrush. Well of Fates, it read, letters warped and crumbling. The words hit her like a jolt of ice. Memories flooded back, the tales of the well Annie used to tell, of children lured in by laughter, never to be seen again. No, I shouldn't be here, Mia breathed, the weight of realization pressing heavy on her mind. The urge to flee clawed at her as she turned, ready to escape this sinister place. But before she could move, the ground shivered underfoot, sending a chill racing up her spine. The shadows rushed forward, a tidal wave of darkness. Her breath hitched as it swirled around her, and she screamed as the familiar faces emerged, their eyes hollow, their grins grotesque. Mia, don't you want to join us? The children's voices twisted her name, sing-song and dreadful. No. She stumbled backwards, adrenaline firing through her. The well was near, she felt its oppressive lure all around her, its promise of eternal rest or eternal despair whispering like a siren song. She refused to listen, she had to resist. You can fight it, Mia. A different voice broke through Annie's voice, strong and clear, shadowing beneath the multitude. Don't let them take you. Mia's heart surged at the sound, hope sparked like a match struck in the dark. But the figures advanced, stepping as one, a mass of despair pushing toward her. You can't escape, Mia. You belong to us. She felt tears stinging her eyes as doubt battled hope. The pull of the well threatened to swallow her whole, but perhaps there was a way to fight back, to turn this horror into something primal and powerful. Bring it on! She shouted, igniting the fury within her as she surged forward, determined to find her sister and confront whatever dark force lay ahead. But as she barreled toward the well, something sudden crashed through the trees, a monstrous thing, a shapeless shadow towering over her with tendrils reaching out, beckoning her into its depths. Heart racing, Mia braced herself. Was this it? Would she truly face what lay inside? The creature paused, an agonizing moment of anticipation hanging in the air. Then it lunged. Mia's scream punctured the heart of the night, tearing through the terror that enveloped her. What would happen next? Would she survive the malevolence waiting to consume her? Or would it burden her soul eternally? Mia's scream echoed the depth of the night, laced with raw terror. In that blurred heartbeat, she felt the air ripple as the dark creature leaped forward, its massive form a black outlined nightmare, every twisted limb stretching towards her with unnatural speed. Time warped as she surged backward, blood pounding in her ears. The shadows encroached, their sinister hands inching closer, but sheer instinct propelled her forward. The well loomed ahead like some grotesque altar, dark and slick, an invitation into the abyss. With each step, Mia felt a tremor beneath her feet, a warning resonating through the ground. Annie! She cried again, desperation rising like bile in her throat. Maybe if she called out, her sister would guide her, show her the way to escape. A low growl erupted from the creature, a sound that twisted from deep within, drowning her call. Through the chaos, a fleeting image tore across her mind. Annie standing at the edge of the woods, eyes wide as the sun slipped below the horizon, warning her about the fates that awaited those who wandered too far. Do not let them touch you, Mia stumbled, a root snagging her foot. She fell hard, the breath knocked out of her as she crashed to the cold, damp ground. Panic clawed at her throat, hot and suffocating. Fumbling, she scrambled to her knees, glancing back just in time to see the creature lurch closer, its tendrils searching the air. "Run!" A desperate scream echoed in her mind. It was Annie. Summoning every ounce of strength, Mia shouted her sister's name, flinging her arms toward the well as if it could summon Annie's spirit. "Annie! Help me!" The creature hesitated, the mass of dark flesh momentarily frozen. Warm air simmered as something shifted within its depths, lips parting to display rows of jagged teeth glistening in the faint light. Mia seized the precious second to push herself upright, every nerve screaming as she headed for the well's gaping maw. A promise of safety flickered in her mind. If she could reach it, something could surely save her. Sweat poured down her back, each heartbeat a countdown as she closed the distance. But the figures of the children emerged from the shadows once more, their hollow eyes fixed on her, their laughter rising in pitch. "Join us, Mia. You'll never be alone again." "No. I want." Her voice cracked, filled with defiance. Digging her nails into the earth, she pulled herself forward, desperately invoking memories of safety, the sunshine, the laughter, family dinners. "Stay away from me," she shouted, flinging mud and dirt toward them, imagining it a barrier against the encroaching darkness. With a forceful leap, Mia dove towards the well as the creature lunged again, tendrils snapping at her heels. She felt the rush of air like a violent current pulling her down. In that moment, time seemed to stop. Lights flickered in her vision as she tumbled into the hole, the world above fading into muted shadows. Heart racing, she grasped the walls, feeling the slick earth beneath her fingers. And then, darkness enveloped her completely. She landed hard on a cold, damp surface. It was echoing in a way that felt utterly wrong. Thin tendrils of fog curled around her ankles, creeping up her legs, moving like shy spirits reaching to claim her. Mia's breath hitched as she rose to her feet, heart hammering loud enough to drown out the whispers. She felt weightless, like she was neither here nor there, caught between realms, with shadows wrapping tighter around her. As her eyes adjusted, a dim glow radiated from the depths of the well, drawing her in. Shapes began to materialize in the fog, flickering like restless memories. "Welcome back," a familiar voice replaced the echoing despair. "Annie." Mia's heart leaped, dread thickening the air as her sister stepped forward, face half hidden in darkness. You're alive?" But Annie's mouth twisted into an unreadable smile, her eyes glinting with something Mia didn't recognize, something that clawed at the edges of her sanity. "It's not what you think," Annie said, voice cold and eerie. Mia's chest constricted, a gnawing fear whispered inside her mind. What if the darkness had taken her sister too? To escape would mean confronting the truth. "Join us," the shadows murmured again, wrapping tighter around Mia, ready to drag her into the depths of her soul's darkest nightmares. As the edges of the well began to close in with an icy grip, Mia realized she might not only lose herself in this cursed place but the sister she fought so hard to save. Would she dive deeper into the darkness for Annie, or would the shadows consume her entirely? Only one way to find out. Mia's heart raced as she glanced at Annie, processing the twisted smile that danced upon her sister's lips. The shadows around her whispered, pulling at her ankles with unseen hands. Anxiety clawed at her stomach, and the air felt thick alive with tension. "Annie, this isn't you." Mia shouted, forcing herself to the forefront of her fears. "Please, fight them. We can escape." Escape? The laughter that erupted from Annie rippled through the dark, sending chills down Mia's spine. "There's no escape from this place, Mia. You should know that by now." The shapes in the fog began to close in, their faces flickering children, faces she hadn't seen in years, lost in that same cursed night. Each one a reminder, each face morphing between innocence and malevolence. Mia took a hesitant step back. "What did they do to you?" Annie leaned closer, her eyes gleaming unnaturally. They showed me things beyond this world. Here, we belong. Forever. No. The word ripped through Mia like a cannon blast, echoing against the slick well walls. She stumbled backward, the dampness clinging to her skin like the hands of the shadows. I won't lose you to this. Suddenly, the darkness swelled, the fog thickening and spiraling into a cyclone of whispers. Join us. Join us. They were all around now, the lost children beckoning her to join their dance in despair, their hollow laughter spiraling into wails of torment. Mia felt their gaze, empty yet heavy. This was more than just a game, it was a binding, a claim on her very soul. The realization struck her. What had they promised Annie? What price had her sister paid? Just let me go. Mia cried, breaking through the circle of fog, desperation fueling her resolve. She pushed against the childlike forms, shoving her body through the darkness that sought to envelop her. Annie, fight! But Annie didn't respond. Instead, her smile widened, stretching unnaturally over her face. Thick shadows pulsed behind her, a churning river of ink that beckoned with an insatiable hunger. Do you not see? You could have power. Together, we can become one with them. No more pain, no more sorrow. Mia shook her head frantically, tears pooling in her eyes. The price is too high. You're not yourself. Every instinct screamed for her to pull Annie back, to claw at whatever had ensnared her sister's spirit. Then let go. Annie's voice turned harsh, distorted by the shadows. Embrace the darkness. As Mia felt the grasp of the fog tighten around her, she sensed her sister waver. Suddenly, the other children lunged forward, their fingers reaching with urgency. Their laughter twisted into anguished screams as they tried to drag Mia into the depths of despair. With a surge of adrenaline, Mia dove toward the flickering light ahead. Perhaps it wasn't a means of escape, but rather a way to save Annie. I love you, Annie. I won't leave you. I'll fight with you. She lunged for her sister, the last shred of hope tearing through the darkness. But in that moment, the well erupted with blinding light, blurring her vision and reverberating through her bones. The world ripped apart. The glow swirled, swallowing her and the shadows whole. A sudden and deafening silence broke through as Mia landed on a hard, flat surface no longer in the well, yet nowhere she recognized. Let her go. A voice echoed across the emptiness, familiar yet distant. Mia bolted upright, heart pounding, scanning her environment, searching for any sign of Annie or the dark creature that hunted her. Where was she? Light flickered, illuminating a familiar hallway, covered in dust but eerily well preserved. The air was stale, thick with whispers of forgotten memories. Mia's breath fogged in front of her as she stood motionless, feeling the weight of presence lurking in the corners. A picture hung crooked on the wall, its glass cracked a frame of the two of them, Annie and Mia, smiling on a sunny day. The dim light cast strange shadows, warping the room in distorted forms. Suddenly, a hollow laugh echoed from behind her, snaking through the air like a serpent. You thought you could leave? The darkness will always find you. Mia's heart dropped as she turned, feeling the chill of something sinister lurking close behind. It was just the beginning. Would she summon the strength to confront the haunting truths that awaited, or would she lose herself to the very darkness she sought to escape? Mia's skin prickled, the laughter wrapping around her like barbed wire. She spun around, dread creeping into her bones, but the hallway behind her was empty. Just shadows flickering beneath the dim light. The laughter faded into whispers, chilling her further. She took a step forward, heart racing, scanning for any sign of her sister. The walls seemed to close in, the air thickening. Desperation clawed at her throat. Annie? Silence stretched, and when it broke, it was with a faint murmur, her name threaded with a painful echo. Mia, her pulse quickened, igniting a flicker of hope. Annie! Where are you? No answer came. Instead, a door creaked open at the end of the hallway, revealing a room shrouded in darkness. Mia felt an unnatural pull toward it, as if the shadows waved her closer. She hesitated, doubt gnawing at her, but that whisper beckoned again. She edged forward, steeling herself. She had to know. With each step, the darkness thickened, tugging at her, whispering promises of what lay beyond. "You'll see, you'll understand." Panic surged within her, but she couldn't turn away. Not now. As she crossed the threshold, the air changed heavy, suffocating. A low hum filled the space, vibrating through her body. Flickering candles lined the walls, their flames dancing wildly, casting grotesque shadows that twisted and contorted like the lost children. In the center of the room, an altar loomed, draped in dark fabric. A diary lay open on its surface, pages curling with age. The name scrawled at the top sent a cold shiver through Mia's spine, Annie. "What have you done?" she breathed, fingers trembling as she approached the altar. Flipping through the delicate pages, she felt drawn toward dark secrets, rituals whispered in hushed tones, a pact forged in shadows. It spoke of sacrifice, of lost souls, of binding darkness to one's own spirit. Her mind raced, desperate to comprehend. Suddenly, a gust of wind exploded in the room, snuffing out the candles, plunging her into darkness. She gasped, the air charged with an icy breath. Shadows converged around her, swirling like a storm. "Join us," the whispers spiraled, a cacophony of despair, coaxing her to yield to their seductive call. "No!" she screamed, clenching her fists, fighting against the tide of sorrow trying to pull her under. "I want to be one of you." The shadows lurched forward, and she stumbled back. The darkness reached for her, inches away from her skin, and the whispers morphed into screams, voices of the children blending into an anguished chorus. "Leave her alone." A voice broke through the clamoring chaos. It was Annie. "Mia, you need to wake up." Her sister appeared faintly in the distance, her form shimmering, fighting against the oppressive darkness. "Annie." Mia reached out, her heart swelling. "I'm here. I'm coming." But just as she moved toward her, fierce shadows launched forward, ripping and shredding through the air. "No. Mia, stay back. It's a trap." Before she could comprehend, the fabric of the world twisted violently, a swirl of light and darkness colliding. The ground beneath her buckled, disintegrating the space around them. "Annie." The darkness swallowed the words, a final echo fading into the void as Mia tumbled deeper into the abyss. She flailed, grasping at the fleeting image of her sister, now lost. Silence fell once more, isolating her in the nothingness. "Mia," a whisper, soft yet haunting. The air around her thickened, swirling with intent. In that dark limbo, she sensed the presence shifting closer, the cold prickle of its gaze boring into her soul. Terror surged, yet beneath it flickered a fierce determination. She had to escape or she'd be lost to the void forever. But in the distance, the laughter returned, anew, deeper laughter that twisted into a painful wail. It was ending, but what would follow? What awaited her in the darkness beyond? Mia's heartbeat thundered in her ears, each pulse a reminder of the darkness that tangled around her like a vice. The ever-present whispers clawed at her, saturating her insides with fear. Yet deep inside, a spark of defiance ignited. She couldn't succumb to this malevolence. Not now, with her sister's hauntingly familiar voice echoing in the void. "Mia," it was softer now, more desperate. "Please, you need to wake up. Don't let them take you." She closed her eyes, gripping the remnants of her will tight enough to feel it reverberate against the shadows. "Annie. I will find you. I want to let you go to them." And with that proclamation, light erupted from within her, brighter than the deepest night, a raw and glaring force that pushed the shadows back. The whispers shrieked in agony, clawing at the edges of her consciousness, but her resolve surged forward, drowning them in illumination. Suddenly, she found herself back in the clearing, standing before the ominous well, its depths reflecting the brightest fragments of her memories: laughter, warmth, a day on the swing set with Annie under the sun. She was trapped, the shadows still thrumming beneath her feet, yet the light inside pulsed stronger than ever. "Annie!" She called again, her voice pure and powerful, cutting through the echoing despair. From the heart of the well, a figure began to materialize, a flicker of white, familiar and dear, pulling her beneath the curling tendrils of darkness. It was no longer Annie's silhouette, it transformed into the girl she had always known, her face lined with sadness but her eyes brimming with sisterly courage. "Mia, I'm so sorry." "Annie, no. You're stronger than this." Mia stepped closer, defiance pushing her forward. The shadows rattled angrily at her resolve, but she remained steadfast. "Join me," the figures of the lost children wailed, their familiar faces twisting in grief. "We all belong to the darkness now." Mia shook her head, anguish swirling in her chest. "No. You're not lost. Not forever. Fight back." Annie lunged through the shadows, a luminous hand reaching toward Mia, like a beacon amidst the storm. Stronger than fear, Mia closed the distance between them. "Fight. Together." The shadows converged, their fingers seeking to tear them apart, but Mia's grip on Annie was firm. In that moment, a surge of love warmer than dawn radiated from their clasped hands. It pierced through the darkness, churning the ground beneath them and igniting a fierce glow. The connection between them catalyzed hope not just for escape but for liberation. The air crackled. The pull of the darkness began to warp and retreat, the children's laughter turning into anguished cries. "What is this strength?" The shadows hissed, desperately trying to hold ground. "Your darkness doesn't own us." Mia shouted back, her voice resonating with certainty. "We choose love. We choose life." The shadows wailed, their forms dissipating in flares of distorted peace as they succumbed to the light. And in one final burst of clarity, the sisters screamed together, "We are not yours." In an overwhelming explosion of effulgent energy, the darkness shattered. The ground beneath their feet shook violently, the remnants of long-forgotten souls writhing in a final, desperate plea. The well groaned, its depths imploding, releasing a swirling vortex of dusty echoes, the memories of the lost children released into the abyss. Mia and Annie stood in the eye of the storm, the air alight with indescribable warmth. The shadows peeled away, and the night sky opened above them, revealing a tapestry of stars like scattered diamonds. Annie whispered as they began to float upward, light enveloping them. "I'm so proud of you. You saved us." The weight of the forest lifted, and with it, the fear that had once shackled them. The woods faded, the memories of trepidation, pain, and uncertainty dissolving into the ether. As they ascended into the light, the design of the well distorted, collapsing into a spiral of brilliance. As they breached the surface of night, Mia awoke in her room, moonlight spilling through her window, tranquility washing over her. The scratching at the glass had muted, the cursed woods no longer whispered sinister invitations. She turned to her side and gasped, a surge of tears spilling from her eyes. There, lying beside her, was Annie, unharmed and peaceful, sleeping soundly. They were safe. Mia leaned down and kissed her sister's forehead, relief washing over her. They had conquered darkness together, clinging to the light of their love. In that quiet moment, understanding washed over her like a gentle rain beneath the surface, both light and dark exist. But love would always guide them back home. "Love always wins," she whispered, warmth radiating within her. As they both drifted back into sleep, Mia felt at peace, knowing their bond remained unbreakable, forged in the fires of fear but tempered with resilience. The shadows outside may still loom, but they would never reach her again. Together, they belonged to a brighter day. And remember, if you felt that raw emotion in Mia's journey, and you want more stories that captivate your heart, you need to subscribe now. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep us alive in this space. Let us grow the family. Flood the comments section with your reactions. Did you think they would escape? What were your thoughts on the shadows? Let us have a conversation. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Your support matters more than you know.